Hi, my name is Brian Novotny. We're here at Carter Volkswagen Seattle, dealer 423322. And today we're going to be discussing a typical TSI fuel system commonly found in most of our current Volkswagen models. What you might notice about the system is it has separate low pressure and high pressure systems. We're going to start our discussion by going right where these two systems meet and introduce you to our friend, the high pressure fuel pump. It's a mechanically driven pump whose function is to convert the low pressure fuel into high pressure fuel. Pressures from this pump can range anywhere between 40 and 200 bar. It has its own internal pressure limiting valve to prevent overpressurization of the system, and it is typically driven by lobes on one of the camshafts. The amount of pressure this pump produces is controlled by the BN276 fuel pressure regulating valve. The function of this valve is to control the amount of fuel entering the high pressure fuel pump, which in turn controls the amount of pressure the high pressure fuel pump produces for the high pressure system. Once the fuel leaves the high pressure fuel pump, it enters C, our fuel rail. The main function of the fuel rail is to distribute all of the high pressure fuel to our fuel injectors, which are D, commonly referred to as N30 to N33. The function of these components is to inject the proper amount of fuel desired for whatever operating condition is requested by the ECM. Now, keeping an eye on our high pressure fuel system is E, our G247 fuel pressure sensor. Now its main function is to monitor the physical pressure of the high pressure fuel system and then transmit that via an electronic signal to the ECM. Now, down here we have the brains of the operation, F, which is our engine control module, which is J623. The main function of this component is to receive the input signal from G247 along with many other inputs, calculate all that, and determine how it wants to control all the actuators to achieve the optimal operating condition that is desired. Now, one of the actuators that is controlled by the ECM is G, which is J538, and that is our fuel pump control module. The main function of this is to control the pressure output of our in-tank fuel pump, and it does this by receiving a low current pulse width modulated signal from the ECM, and then it uses that data to determine how it wants to control the pulse width modulated signal of the high current carrying signal that is controlling our G6 in-tank transfer pump, which is H. And the main function of this pump is to control the amount of pressure in the low side system. And operating pressures can typically range between 2 to 6 bar depending on operation. It also has its own internal pressure limiting valve, a fuel filter, and it usually has the GX1 mounted next to it, which is monitoring the fuel level in the tank. Where is all this mounted, you ask? In I, the fuel tank, where its main function is to store the fuel safely. So in conclusion, the overall function of this returnless style fuel system is to operate on a demand-based principle, which means the fuel delivery is continually adjusted using the electrical fuel pump and the high pressure fuel pump to help reduce any excess fuel delivery, which helps reduce the electrical and mechanical drive power needed to operate these pumps, which helps save fuel. Once again, my name is Brian Novotny, Carter Volkswagen Seattle, dealer 423322.